What's going on, everyone? So, with the upcoming I Know What You Did Last Summer, bodies will drop. And we know that Julie and Ray are going to be interwoven into this film in some capacity. How much screen time are they get? How much effect on the film are they going to be in till the end, and take out the Hookman and do all this other stuff? Right, a lot of questions about kind of Julie and Ray's character. We know that they're in the film. We got the trailer. You can see them. There's questions of, are they together? Are they not? Right? Did a whole video on that and breaking that down based on the information we have from the trailer. So go check out that video after this video. But, there are questions of like, okay, where Julie and Ray stand, right? Because based on the trailer, it looks like, they're kind of living separate lives, and that Ray is still Southport and, probably still a fisherman, and he kind of injects himself and is trying to, I imagine, help these kids. And he's probably, my guess, again, just my guess, he's the one that probably tells them like, hey, you need to go contact Julie, right? If I try to contact her, she's not gonna answer, right? So you need to go talk to her. And obviously we see a Julie and Ray encounter. We got that in promotional shots and all that stuff. So we know that they're gonna have an interaction at some point. So how is their relationship? Where does it stand as far as how long ago do they hate each other, right? Like what's the deal? What's the situation? But one of the big things we've seen in a lot of these legacy sequels are legacy characters dying, right? Scream did it to Dewey, right? The Texas Chainsaw Massacre did it to, Sally, right? Like, The Exorcist, right? Like, the list goes on and on of these legacy sequels with the legacy characters coming back into the fold. At some point during the film, one, if not all, die, right? So I'm curious to see if they do that with this installment. I would imagine if this film's successful, they're going to want to do more. I don't think that this is going to be one of those things where it's like, if this does really well, that's it. No more. I Know What You Did Last Summer. I mean, look, Scream is on its third installment because the first two were, and supposedly Scream 8 is ready to go, right? So, it's how it works at Hollywood. If you have success and something's working, you just keep pumping it out until it does, right? So I imagine that if this film does really well, they're going to continue a follow-up story, which you would imagine you'd want, especially if Jennifer Love Hewitt and Freddie Prinze Jr. are still on board and willing to continue. You'd imagine that you'd want them to still be in the fold, right? You'd still want that attraction and just their story. And then us that grew up with the franchise, we can kind of watch them kind of continue to evolve and build their characters into, their later years, right? That, ages that many of us are, right? So I think that could be fascinating, maybe rekindle their relationship. But I also could see a version where one, if not both, die. I don't think that they would kill Julie, right? Because, the final girl thing. So I could see them keeping Julie alive. However, I could see them killing Ray. And it wouldn't shock me at all if Ray ends up dying, right? Like, because I could see him dying to save Julie because he loves her. And like, you can kind of see the path to Ray's death, right? Where Julie's, I think one, people probably be upset. I think people would be upset with Julie or Ray, either one. But I think if you were going to kill either, I think Ray would be more safe because I think you could do it in a way that kind of justifies, the killing, where, like I said, he sacrifices himself or, allows her to get, like, kind of like how the Dewey, for those, that are familiar, like Dewey saves the day type thing. And it's like, I could see Ray kind of being in that mold, particularly for Julie, because he's always loved Julie. So I could see him like she's, about to get stabbed or so. He just like bulldozes her out of the way and just takes the blunt of it, and he ends up meeting his end, right? So I could see that even just for the shock value, right? Julie, I think Julie dying would be more emotional, right? I think you could have a more emotional hitting film or a emotional hitting scene, right? Ray's kind of just like dismayed, and he's just like, man, like this is the girl that I've always loved, whether we're together or not, like this is who I've, this has been it. This has been my it type thing. And I think you could have this emotional moment. Could you do something where they both die? Sure. Would they really kill both legacy characters though in one film? Maybe. Could it be something where, or maybe it's something at the end, right? Do Julie and Ray end up, getting back together? They're kind of working on things, and then you kind of get like an ending like you did in part 2, and then it's kind of left like, okay, was this time real? Was this just her dreams? Was this like, how did this go? How was this all about, right? And then kind of have that set up, and then in the next installment, maybe you find out like, oh no, they really did die type thing, or maybe that's the opening scene or something, right? Like where you carry that over. But also, I think that would be something that probably upset a lot of people, because it's like you just gotta kill them at the end, like, where I think if you kind of left it more ominous, right? But again, I think it'll probably come down to Sarah Michelle Gellar, Jennifer Love Hewitt. There we go. Knew I'd get one of them. Jennifer Love Hewitt and Freddie Prinze Jr. Right? I think it'll come down to those two and kind of how their willingness to be attached to future projects, right? I would imagine there was a conversation before this one went in, because you see all these films, right? Like they want to do a new trilogy, right? Strangers, Exorcist, Scream, right? Like Halloween, right? All of these things, they want to do at least 3 more films. That's what they're trying to build up towards. So I would imagine there was a conversation of like, hey, what do you think? How do you feel? Would you guys, if we did do another sequel or 2, is that something you guys would be on board with, right? Like, because if not, then we may end up killing you. But if you guys are on board for future installments, then we'll keep you alive type thing. Like, I could see that conversation potentially being had. So I do think that that's a big part of it. Because, like, if Freddie Prinze Jr. and Jennifer Love Hewitt are like, hey, we'll go as many as, as long as it makes sense, right? We'll go as many as we can, right? Then I would imagine you'd want them in the film as much as possible for that draw, right? For, fans of the franchise that are like, oh, hey, they're here again, right? Same thing you see with like Scream with, Gale Weathers, Courtney Cox, and, Neve Campbell, right? Sidney Prescott, right? Like, so you want that connection to kind of the legacy audience, right? But I kind of lean towards one of them will die, and it's probably Ray. Kind of lean towards, I could see Ray meeting his end at some point in this film, more likely probably towards the end, because I don't think that they'll kill Julie, right? Because she's like the final girl of the franchise, right? And, obviously you've seen like Laurie Strode die in various Halloweens and stuff, but I don't think they'll do that with her. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion. Pass the question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? What are your thoughts? Do you agree? Disagree? Kind of mixed in the middle? Do you think one of them dies? Do you think both of them dies? Do you think none of them die? Either way, down in the comments. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot. So we enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one.